Hello and welcome to the Academy Drivers Series for the final round of this season. We are at Abu Dhabi and your commentator for today is Lucas Aid. Apologies for the timing, just some life admin came up there. Aiden just set a 1:22.4. Magnus Shaw aborting his lap, but you can see the times pouring in now. Only Beetle, it seems, has the potential to maybe disrupt this top three of Aiden, Magnus Shaw and Josh. And he is aborted, he is invalidated. So Hulu is the next one, but I think he's massively down. Yeah, he is not setting a lap time. And Lingus, what a name in the Ferrari. He also is not setting a lap time. He's invalidated. So that should be your order for this session. And it's a short qualifying time. So that is it. And Aiden is your pole sitter for the final. As always, any questions, just put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer. I'll be back in about 2 minutes. I've just got to check on something downstairs. Apologies. Here we go then, 5 lights for the finale, and we are away. Aiden pulling away very, very well, but he's got Magnus Shaw for company and the Mercedes of Josh closely behind. No contact through turn 1, And now I think the Alpine and Magnussen was going to be quite kind to Aiden, but now Josh coming down the inside around turn number 3, and they are 2 abreast going into this amazing corner. Of course, scenes between Verstappen and Hamilton come to mind here. In the meantime, you've got a Mercedes diving down the inside there. Good stuff from Dimargi. He is up into P7, but actually Carter has managed to claw back the position, I believe, in the kick around the outside. Here we go then. I think Josh is going to go for the move. Is he going to go for the lead here? It's all going to be down to the braking. Very respectful here. Magnus is going to try and switch back, but Aiden's defending very, very nicely here. Wants to win this championship. And here we go. So Josh, Aiden, Magnussen then. Josh has absolutely stormed it on lap number 1. Great move into the lead. So as it stands then, and Magnussen runs a little bit deep, and that's allowed Beetle to have a speculative effort there into third, but doesn't quite come off on this occasion. Loads going on though down the sort of the midfield. Evo, Blue Frog, Hulu all fighting it out there, and there's a McLaren in the background getting a little bit twitchy, holding on there for dear life on the penultimate corner. And there you go, we've completed lap number 1. Just while this is all loading up, you'll be able to see the tyres. So most runners on the medium, as you could see on the screen anyway, but we've also got a few on the hard tyre, in particular the 2 Alpines and Beetle. So quite a lot of confident drivers towards the top of the order, as you'd expect. Oh, and is that a late move? Was that Dimargi? Yes, it was. On this occasion, doesn't quite come off, but very good effort. Right in the middle of a DRS train. It's going to be quite hard to make a move, but he's going to absolutely burn that battery to try something. But of course, now going defensive with that lack of battery. Pushed very hard there. Though Hulu, though, managed to go down the inside of Blue Frog into P10. Right, so while we are on board with Magnussen, we can just take a little look at the standings. As Beetle sets the fastest lap of the race. So as I said, it's the final round, round number 10. Aiden leading the championship by 25 points over Urban. Now, there were some things that happened with Urban, and he will not be taking part in this race. And then Lejeune is actually 38 points down. So, if I'm not mistaken, that means that, bar any weird penalties or any deductions, I think Aiden is on track to take this championship, but still worth a good watch because there's a great battle for second. You've got Lejeune on 87.7 up on 85 and Magnussen on 71. So you can see that actually for Magnussen, this could be actually an extremely important race, and we're watching a fantastic battle. Josh and Magnussen always putting on a show for us. I remember in round 8, I was seeing similar as Josh runs deep, just like Magnussen did on lap number 1. But this time Magnussen takes full advantage. Beetle can't quite capitalise though. He is in 4th place, gets a great view of this top 3. And so much going on. I think Carter's made a mistake. Not sure if he reset, but he looked very ghosted. Not ideal, and down to 15th position. Right, so let's take a little look at the gap to leader. So I mean, I think a few drivers making mistakes, but this sort of front 13 are all within 10 seconds. Not too bad at this stage. Oh wow, we're seeing Hulu drifting the car. They're trying to defend against the Ferrari. It's non-stop action here in Abu Dhabi. And yeah, while we're here, let's just take a look at, apologies, the position changes. There we go. So Evo up 6 positions. Great start from him. Hulu up 2, defending from Tajano, who's always quite an entertaining driver to watch. You could probably watch a whole race just on his onboard. Let's jump to Magnushal though. Magnushal and Aiden for the lead. And on this occasion they're keeping it nice and clean. No problem whatsoever. Quite a good view, to be fair, from the helicopter cam. Much better than I expected. And Demaji has a penalty. Or Demagi, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. Looks like a new runner in the Merc. But Beat was doing a solid job here. And Josh on the mediums, he needs to try and capitalise. Let's run on board with the battle for 11th. You've got Felix here on Demagi. It's going to go around the outside and then go for the switchback into DRS. I mean, that looks like a winning strategy. As long as he is the one to get DRS, should do in the train. Yep. And as you see, Demagi does not. So very nicely calculated from Felix. He definitely deserves the move just for that alone. I'll tell you what though, the straight line speed difference was not as much as I expected, and that actually allows Demagi. Oh, he got it a little bit wrong there. He hit the outside curb, which kind of becomes the inside curb in the chicane, and sort of squirreled into Felix. Somehow I think though Demagi's actually has no damage, and he's gonna maybe get the place back. Wow, the front end of Felix so close. Look at these two, really good battles, and Felix is just about holding on. Here we go then, down to this really tricky right-hander. Who is going to hold it out on the brakes? And it looks like Demagi holds on there. He had the inside line and was very controlled on the brakes. Wow, this is like non-stop, almost go-karting type driving here from these two. I've never seen a car that close to the back here for that long. That's really good stuff. Really good. Lap 6 of 29. I think that battle is going to continue very shortly. But let's just go back up to the leaders. I mean, there's a lot of stake for second, as I explained earlier. A lot of excitement to be had. No moves available so far. But I'll tell you who is trying to make a move, and it's Felix and Demagi again. And again, they're going to go around the outside this time. It's Demagi in the Merc trying to run around the outside. And let's see how this holds out. So Felix again into the lead on Demagi's going to go for the late move. No. He backs out at the last second there. But he was sensing something. He's trying something there. Of course, Demagi with the penalty. And oh, that shift down, that gear shift down was not what he wanted. It's kind of thrown his rhythm off, and he said, I've had enough of this fight, I'm just going to go for the undercut pit stop on lap 7 of 29. So I'm expecting hard tyres to go on here. And of course the hard tyres have gone on. Right then, so on board with, I cannot believe the first part of that name. That is crazy. Right, that driver, and I can see that they've done some interesting things with the second letter, I think, to make that the English work. Anyway, Pigeon into 4th. I don't pick the names. And actually, let's ride down with Hulu, because I think Hulu's going to go for a move on Tajano. This is proving to be a really good overtaking spot in this race. I mean, it is in real life as well, but These drivers are overtaking constantly. And I'll tell you what, the Racing Bulls are having a big battle. I mean, look at this. Felix now fighting with Blue Frog. So Demaji obviously has pit, and then Felix has just found a new battle. So this guy's really in for a fight. The sister team, Blue Frog, in front in the Red Bull. And Josh, as you would expect, has pit. He had enough there. I think the mediums were starting to fade. Maybe fading slightly earlier actually than I expected. I would have thought the medium runners would stay for about 8 or 9 laps. But yeah, let's see how this pans out. Josh into the pits. And then back to your top 3. Magnushaw, Aiden and Beetle. And Beetle just can't quite get the move done. It's quite sensible driving. I feel like Aiden is driving in a way so that he's protecting Magnushaw. Magnushaw, as I said earlier, I mean, he has a lot to gain from winning this race. So I think if the Alpines could pick, they would leave it as it is right now. And we'll scoot down to Felix again, because this could be shaping up. There's some slightly bigger gap, but I'm seeing the blue flashing light on Blue Frog. His battery is in trouble. Just runs out a straight line, does Felix. Really good stuff here. Right, the doorbell's just gone, so I'm going to mute and I'm going to keep you on board with Beetle. Oh, apologies everyone, I think I just have no luck on Tuesdays. Right, so Beetle and Aiden going into the pits at the same time. Magnushaw, of course, pitting a little bit earlier onto the mediums. He has a penalty, so 3 seconds for Magnushaw. Not ideal, but he's still doing what he needs to do to hopefully take second in the championship. Alpine in the constructors, I think it is safe to say, looking very, very confident. Really congested in the pit lane. And actually, on the subject of constructors, let's just take a little look. So Alpine are leading by 41 points, so I think it's almost wrapped up, as Magnushaw now is in the lead, having pit onto those mediums nice and early. McLaren there, they're 41 points behind. Kick are 29 points, Sauber that is, are 29 points off McLaren. But with the way that's looking at the moment, that's a big deficit, with them running 11th and 13th respectively. The Racing Bulls though are only 3 points behind Aston Martin. So actually, Atsapatsa currently running in third, and kudos to him by the way for running in third. Great strategy from him. I have definitely noticed you there, mate. Doing really, really good. But yeah, that's a really good battle to look for. So Aston Martin versus Racing Bulls, 3 points in favour of Aston at the moment. But the Racing Bulls in 9th and 10th, they could still progress. Meanwhile, Pigeon is in 12th, but on fresh hards. I think they're really the main battles. Haas versus Williams, there's 1 point in it, in favour of Haas. But is there even a Williams running today? No. So this is what I mean really. The main battle then to watch, you got Racing Bulls on 117, Aston on 120, and Sauber on 121. So yeah, just keep an eye on that one as the race progresses. Aiden has already got past Evo for 5th. Apologies for missing that one. Good move there. And he's doing what he needs to do on these mediums and actually catching up to Beetle despite the traffic. So this is good stuff there. Beetle might not mind getting DRS at least from Atsapatsa. I'm expecting the move to be quite straightforward for him. Yeah, it's a bit of a drag race, but Beetle takes third place from the Aston, unless the Aston chooses to fight back, of course. Scenes of Hamilton versus Perez 2021 not materialising this time, and Aiden's going to have to try and sort of channel his inner Alonso and capitalise, and my goodness me, has he done so. I mean, the camera angle was awful, but he has taken the place from Beetle, so he surely is. Yeah, he's been studying his Alonso manoeuvres, and he's done a great job there. Atsapatsa somehow holds on to third though, but I don't think Aiden's going to mind that. He'll go for the late dive, and what an excellent drive. Great lap 19 so far from the Alpine. Narrowly though avoids contact from the Aston Martin. Thought I was going to curse it there a little bit, but Aiden's done a fantastic job on that lap there. Really, really good stuff. And Beetle has managed to also get past the good defending of the Aston Martin in Atsapatsa. Magnushaw into the pits, so he'd had enough. He'd rejected those mediums and he's gone straight onto the hards. He's going to come out a little way back from the others, but he's decided like now is the time to pit. And if you actually look at the stops, you know, Magnushaw's made an extra pit stop. So if you're wondering why he's suddenly fallen back, he's clearly decided these mediums are not making it to the end, and he has decided to pit instead. Interestingly, I'm not sure what tyre he started on. I'm guessing then he started on mediums. He's gone medium, medium, hard. Could have potentially done medium, soft, hard, but not a problem. Pigeon gets past Felix for P8. It's good stuff there, especially with this constructors battle, but Beetle's doing a great job for his as well. Evo then just getting past Atsa, and I seem to be missing absolutely everything here. Apologies. As that move is going on, Aiden and Beetle are toe to toe. Oh, almost contact there. Aiden's going to go round the outside in his defence, and he's going to hold on to second place. But I tell you what, that was brave stuff. That could have ended in disaster. Very good, brave defending around the outside from Aiden. Holds on to P2, and we're now on lap, I think, 21 of 29, yep. And the reason why that was so delayed in being called was that Josh went into the pits. So that number did not change as quickly as expected. So Josh was practically caught up before he pit. So I think it's safe to say that the strategy didn't quite work. However, the mediums seem to fade away very quickly, and Aiden and Beetle, they've got 8 more laps to go, and they've done 3 laps already, so that will be 11 lap old mediums at the end. That seems to be old for this track because a lot of people were pitting laps 7 and 8, so maybe anything after 9 laps could be quite difficult. I mean, it's hard to say. Anyway, Beetle on Aiden. Do they make contact? No, but Aiden picks a great defensive line on the outside. The problem now, of course, is battery and DRS. So I think Beetle sized up Aiden there on the chicane, and then he's going to reap the rewards on the second DRS zone. And he takes the lead of this race. Really good stuff from the Haas. And I think this is really the main battle for now. But I mean, you couldn't pick 2 better positions for it to be. A little bit of a lock-up from Aiden, and really it's a bit of a battery management exercise as well. And they've got a way to go. They don't want to kill their tyres. There's a lot of factors to bear in mind here. And Beetle's doing a very, very good job in Sector 1 there to give enough of a gap to not be troubled by Aiden. Magnushall, though, on those lovely, lovely fresh hards, is going to try everything he can here to make up ground. I mean, Evo looked really out of sorts there. I don't know if that was a driver mistake or the tyres were shot, but just like a golfing class through that chicane. And Magnushall into third. Running out of laps, that's Magnushall's issue. I mean, I would imagine that for the last 3 or 4 laps he will be the quickest driver on the track, at least off the top sort of half of the grid, assuming no one else pits. But it's, yeah, hard to call. You never know, anything can happen. We're obviously assuming these mediums are okay. And a penalty for pitching there, not ideal in the constructors' fight. And you can see these 2 racing bulls going on a charge. They have hunted down Tejano in the Ferrari, and they desperately want to make points up on, I believe it's the Aston Martins. But as it stands, Aston are doing what they need to do. Also keep an eye on Aiden, he's very close. Let's pan to this battle here. Aiden just running out of straight though, so straight back we go then to Hulu. He's going to go for the move then, he's committed. Almost contact with Tejano. And he locks the front left for good measure. But he's got the move done and he's covered the defensive line. However, has he got good enough traction? You can get double overtaked with a bad chicane move. And let's have a look then. So Tejano regains the place. And Felix also gains the place. So yep, Hulu overextended himself there. And he's actually net lost a position. In the meantime, though, Felix is going to have to try and get past Tejano. Is he going to go for the late move on the inside? As you see a right rear lockup from Tejano. Really struggled to keep that on the track. Felix almost pushing Tejano along Sector 3 here. Of course, past the wall that Latifi infamously crashed into. And here we go. This is excellent stuff from these 3. Lap now, I think 24 of 29 for these runners. And Tejano holds on in the Ferrari. Right, let's skip up to Aiden because he's looking closer than ever. Doesn't need to overextend himself though. Just slowly wear down Beetle if possible. and look after the tyres. I don't think a move is on there, so let's go back to Felix. They're just making their way down this straight. I wonder how they're going to approach it this time, because Tajano's defence was excellent on the last lap. So Tajano then picks his spot, and he's going to try the switchback again. I think this time covered a lot better by the racing ball of this time Felix rather than Hulu. And that is how you do it. You make sure you get a great exit, and it should mean Tajano can't quite fight back. Oh yeah, very close stuff, but yeah, great job from Felix, and he holds on to P9, albeit with a penalty. So many penalties so far. Felix with 6 seconds and Hulu with 3. So Tajano not only defending well, but keeping it clean, and that should reap the rewards come the end of this race. We're very close to the end. Aiden's still unable to get past Beetle, but as I said earlier, he will not be going crazy for this move. He doesn't need to do anything silly, just needs to keep it on track. No penalties as well, so we can just put Beetle under steady pressure. Josh gets past Evo just as we flick to that move. Josh, of course, on a charge, one of the quickest drivers I've seen in the Academy Driver Series and on fresh mediums, so I expect him to make up a lot of ground. This is a ghosted car that DNF'd. And commiserations to those 4 runners. They are Carter, Lingus, Dimaggi and OG Kappa in reverse order. Oh, and Aiden spun! Aiden has spun! And we were talking about keeping it clean. I'm not sure what caused that. Not a usual place for contact to be made, actually. And he's got to hope his tyres are okay. So Magnushall into P2, albeit with penalties, and knowing that it's his teammate behind him. Now, with the championship, I don't think it matters. In fact, in a weird way, having Magnushall in front of Aiden could be beneficial, you could argue, for like the overall team. But I'm sure they're on comms and they understand what needs to be done. Well, Beetle now with a 3-second gap. Apologies for missing that. I did not expect contact at that point on the track. I would have been on board with them. Just about to flick as well. But anyway, we want to give a lot of viewing to all of the order, not just the top 2 or top 3. So we're on board with Tajano, but I'm probably going to flick to Josh very shortly. Yeah, let's go now. Just making their way to the first DRS zone of lap 26. And this is going to shape up into an interesting battle, because Aiden is going to have worn tyres and he's going to be under so much pressure. I wouldn't like to see the wear rate on those, as he is overtaken by Pigeon. So I think he may have to just accept that these 2 drivers are going to get past him, and then it's all about the penalties. Again, just to recap that one for you all. 3 seconds to both Magnushall, Pigeon and Josh. Not many laps to go either. So in theory, if Aiden stays in a DRS train, the result is still good. So it's the DRS train on lap 27. Josh though on the fresh mediums, and he's got good battery use. Is he going to go for the move? Yes he is. Tucks up nice and gently against Aiden. He's stopped the car really well. Good onboard footage here. And then he's going to have to put pedal to the metal into the second DRS zone. No idea why I just said that. And Pigeon has actually got an excellent launch, so I don't think Josh will be able to make the move, the double move I should say. Still, he's up 1 position, albeit with a penalty. So now if he can get past Pigeon, this is a true overtaking move that's going to gain him points. I think it's safe to say it's deserved, because every time I see Josh, he puts in a good performance. He's had a couple of incidents I think maybe one forced, one unforced that I saw. But he's done a great job. Definitely, I think, a strong contender for next season. I'm just going to say it now. Beetle, by the way, being reined in by Magnushal. I know Magnushal has a penalty, but let's just keep an eye on that one, because I've seen stranger things. And Magnushal is clearly in the zone, and the medium tyre is set to drop off in pace. So the hard tyre, just to be clear, anyone on a hard tyre of 10 laps or younger is going to have an advantage on the medium runners at this point. I'm pretty sure. So I would expect Beetle and Aiden to start to fade. As I say, for Aiden, he needs to stay in this DRS train. Just be nice and gentle on the tyres, and just stay within a second of Josh. If he can do that, he's in a good position. As Blue Frog gets past his teammate of Evo, for 6th place. Oof, good rotation, but you can see the tyres are struggling there. Let's go on board with Josh for a little bit. He is certainly the most likely to make an overtake at this stage of the race. But Magnushal, you can see just how hard he's pushing. He's so close to the DRS range of Beetle, and he's just snuck in there as they make their way across the start-finish line for the final lap. It's a final lap showdown between many drivers. Let's go on board with Magnushal. Let's see if he can rein him in. It's going to be so hard. He'd wanted one more lap, I feel like. Of course, with the penalty as well, he would have wanted more. But let's see if he could get a move done on track. So here we go. It's the final lap, or the final race of this Academy Driver Series Championship. It's in the IFT, and it is today Lucasade, your commentator. So Magnushal, as I say, is just a little bit too far back on this occasion. He would have loved one more lap. So we'll flick down then. Can Josh do anything? He's going to try his hardest. Let's get back to Magnushal. He's had a good launch from the chicane, but it's not going to be enough. So over to Josh then. Can he give us any cinema on this final lap? Oh, a little loss of traction from Josh. I think that's going to be it, to be honest. Just that little half a tenth with a bit of wheel spin, and that might be enough to prevent him getting the move done. He's going to have to tuck in behind, run slightly deep as well. And actually picking up some dirt on the front right tyre. There we go then. Magnushal and Beetle. It's so close, but as I said, just running out of time. In this case for Magnushal. So Beetle Rain is going to win the final race of this season. Congratulations to the Haas runner. Magnushal then in second, as Felix and Tijano are fighting it out. But Magnushal takes second, Pigeon third. Oh, look at this though. Evo and Azapaz are fighting to the line. It's the Aston versus the Red Bull, and they are side by side, and you can see just how much this means to both of them here. Evo with no penalty though, so I think he's going to get the job done under the checkered flag. So Evo into 7th, Atser in 8th, but good fighting to the flag there. Tijano gaining on both Racing Bulls due to having no penalty, so that's 9th, 10th and 11th. And then Chimita, commiserations to him. He's got some solid pace, but that is, I think, a 12th place finish for the McLaren on this occasion. So there you go, that was the final race of this season, and if I'm not mistaken, Aiden is the Academy Driver Series champion. And I believe, I'm almost absolutely certain, that Alpine are the constructors. So a great effort from both of those. And I think with Beetle winning this race, he has ensured, if I'm not mistaken, that Haas hold on to 7th place in the constructors. And I think Aston have managed to jump Sauber. So I think Aston are going to finish in 3rd place in the constructors. And I think McLaren just hold on to 2nd, albeit not with an ideal performance. Not sure. I know that there were certain things that happened with Urban, who was in McLaren. I'm not sure if they are going to remove the McLaren points or not. I assume they won't. I think they will keep the constructors points. So I'd like to call out then that, at least to my understanding, Alpine, McLaren, I think Aston, and then it's either Racing Bulls or Sauber. That's the one that's really close for 4th. And then you've got Mercedes, Haas, Williams, maybe Red Bull jump Williams, and then Ferrari definitely in last. So I can certainly call that one out. And as I say, if I'm not mistaken, Aiden is your Academy Driver Series champion. And apologies for that, because while I was talking, someone skipped right through to the end, so we didn't actually get to see the official finishing order, which is kind of a pain. But I will just run through it for you now, while I've got a screen grab. So, we have Beetle in first, Magnushal second, Aiden third, Pigeon in fourth, Josh fifth, Blue Frog sixth, Evo seventh, Atsapatsa 8th, Tijano in 9th, Hulu 10th, Felix in 11th. Those three were fighting for the whole race. Chimita 12th, and then Leger in the Sauber in 13th place. Hope you enjoyed the race. As always, it's been great having you alongside. And there's going to be a short break, I think, between seasons. I'm sure like everything's going to be officially worked out so we can see what's going on. But anyway, that's enough waffling from me. Enjoy the rest of your week, and whenever the new season starts, we'll let you know, and we'll be back. Take care, everyone.